Have you ever stood on a beach and seen a giant concrete bunker slowly sinking into the sea? It looks like something from a post-apocalyptic movie. Along the coast of France, dozens of massive concrete forts sit abandoned, half buried in sand, battered by waves, and slowly disappearing into the Atlantic Ocean. But these strange structures are not ancient ruins. They are the haunting remains of one of the largest military projects ever built, the Atlantic Wall. During World War II, Nazi Germany feared that Allied forces would invade Europe from the west. To stop that invasion, Adolf Hitler ordered the construction of a huge defensive system stretching more than 2,500 kilometers along the coastline of Europe. This network became known as the Atlantic Wall. Thousands of bunkers, gun batteries, observation towers, and fortifications were built from Norway all the way to France and beyond. The French coastline became one of the most heavily fortified areas. Massive concrete forts were constructed overlooking beaches and harbors. Many of them contained powerful guns capable of firing shells miles out to sea. The bunkers were built using enormous amounts of reinforced concrete, making them incredibly difficult to destroy. Engineers designed them to survive direct attacks from bombs and naval guns. When Allied forces landed in Normandy on D-Day in June 1944, many sections of the Atlantic Wall were put to the test. Although some fortifications slowed the invasion, the defenses ultimately failed to stop the Allied advance. As the war progressed, many of these forts were abandoned by German troops. When the war ended, the massive structures remained scattered across the coast. At first, many people assumed the bunkers would eventually disappear, but demolishing them turned out to be much harder than expected. Some bunkers were simply too large and expensive to remove. Others were located in remote coastal areas where demolition was not considered necessary. So they stayed exactly where they were, silent reminders of a dark chapter in history. Over the decades, nature began reclaiming these concrete giants. Coastal erosion slowly changed the landscape around them. Beaches shifted, cliffs collapsed. Powerful Atlantic storms hammered the coastline year after year. Some bunkers that were once hundreds of meters inland now sit directly in the surf. Others have tilted at strange angles as the ground beneath them eroded away. One of the most famous examples can be found along the beaches of western France, where enormous bunkers appear to be sinking into the ocean. At low tide, visitors can walk close to them and see rusting metal sticking out of cracked concrete walls. At high tide, waves crash against the structures, creating an eerie and almost ghostly scene. Today, these abandoned forts attract photographers, historians, urban explorers, and curious travelers from around the world. Many visitors describe the experience as unsettling. The bunkers feel frozen in time, as if the war ended only yesterday. Graffiti covers some walls, while others remain surprisingly untouched. Standing beside them, it is easy to imagine the soldiers who once waited inside, watching the horizon for enemy ships. What makes these forts especially haunting is the contrast between their purpose and their fate. They were built to defend an empire that no longer exists. Designed to be permanent, they are now slowly being consumed by the very coastline they were meant to protect. As sea levels rise and coastal erosion continues, more of these structures may eventually disappear beneath the waves. But for now, they remain scattered along France's Atlantic coast, silent concrete ghosts standing guard over empty beaches. They are not just abandoned buildings. They are powerful reminders of war, human ambition, and the unstoppable force of time.